Hello everyone, and this is lesson 3 in the copy to point series. So I don't know what the series is, I'm just doing like random stuff and hopefully somebody will learn something from this. So in this one, we're going to take a look at how to modify point data using the VOP node. Okay, so everything that you're seeing here is primarily done through the VOP node. So that's what we're going to take a look at. So hopefully this will be our final result. Okay, so what we're going to take a look at is like the VOP node is huge. We're going to take a look at the patterns and textures that are available inside the VOP node and how to use that to, modify the copy to points. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate like this much and do Control C, Control V. Let's plug this in. So what I have is I just have a grid with 100 by 100, and then I have a UV project on it. And this is on point level. So that's important because if it's at vertex level, then the point VOP won't be able to access it. And then I just have a sphere that is copied onto it. The sphere is at primitive level. So it's just a Houdini thing. It's not polygons. It won't render. It'll render in mantra. Like if you're using Redshift or whatever, it doesn't really support that. So you'll have to switch over to like a standard sphere and then use that and do like pack geometry. But for viewport purposes, using like a primitive sphere is really fast because it's not geometry. It's just like a procedural sphere that it generates. So what I have is just this. So nothing fancy, just like, some points or some spheres copied onto the points. So to get started, the VOP node is also something that is used for shader building within Mantra. It's not used in Karma anymore, but it's pretty powerful. So we can use most of those same tools at geometry level. So you can just type in VOP and you will get attribute VOP. Okay, like I think we had used it once before. So we can just take the attribute VOP and we'll drop it in here. And I won't name it. I'll just color it. So we'll just know like it's useful. Okay, so I'll just jump in here, and this is it's pretty huge, but to explain it in fairly simple ways, this is input and that is output. So these are all like the basic attributes that it generates, and these are the basic ones that it can output. So it's not just like you can modify color and stuff, but you can also generate velocity and force. So if you want to affect like particles and stuff, you can do that as well. Color wise, it's difficult to see, but okay. So the parrot green, these are vectors. Okay, so this is P is position, V is velocity, force. Okay, and then age and life, if you keep it at the bottom, you will see what it is. So age is float. So like these sort of bluish green ones, this is like aqua. So these are float values. And then what goes into blue, these are integers. Okay, so you can sort of pick it up that way. And then these are if you want to bring in data from a secondary input. So you have like 4 inputs that you get in here. So this allows you to bring in data from there, but we're not going into that right now. Okay, so just to see this in a very simple way, okay, I'm going to make this size slightly bigger for now. Okay, so we're just going to modify color. Okay, now these are global values that are already there for you. But if you want to bring in or output custom data, then you just type in bind. So you'll get a bind and you'll get a bind export. So this allows you to, you don't have PScale here. Okay, so if you want to get in some value and then export it to PScale, then we can type in PScale here. And then that allows you to adjust PScale. So, you can do stuff like that. And then let's say if you have like an incoming attribute that you've generated like a mask value, then you can, take this and type in mask. And then you can also you have to define the type. Okay, so if it's a float value, then it's float, or what is it supposed to be? 3 vectors, 3 floats, 2 floats, whatever. Anyways, so to get started, let's do some really basic things. Let's say if I just want to color this based on position. Okay, so I can just take this and plug it into CD. So CD is color. You can just see. So now based on position data is how it is coloring it. So if I come up here before the attribute VOP. And if I take a transform and I move it around, I don't think it will make any changes. See, there you go. So you're sort of like moving in global position. And if I sort of like rotate it, you'll see the colors kind of change. You can also color it like we have access to UV. So we can just take in UV and plug that in. So that's my UV data. So just to show you, like we can bring this in, using bind as well. So if I just take in bind and I type in UV, because it's called UV. Like if you don't know what it's called, if you just come in here and you'll see that's the name of your attribute. Okay, so I can just come in here and then I can disconnect that. And I can set this to 3 floats. And if I plug this in, we should get the same result. Okay, I'm at the wrong level. I want to be here. So you can also bring in, data from the bind node. Okay, so to do something fairly simple to begin with, okay, like let's say if we take the UV and we want to split it up into like U and V. So we can take a vector to float. That will allow me to split it. And then we can just take like, this is XYZ, or if it's like color, then this is RGB. It's just generically named. And I can plug that in and see. So this is U and that is V. And you can do some basic stuff with this. Like you get a bunch of nodes here. Like if you come, like this is huge. So just forget most of this. Today, like in this lesson, we're just going to take a look at patterns and nothing else beyond that. Okay, so in patterns, you'll get something called as ramps. So ramps and oscillations are kind of the same. So if I just type in ramps, okay, so take ramps. There is also something called ramp parameter. We don't want that. We'll do that in another lesson. So it needs an input value. So let's say if I put this in over here in both, and then I can plug that out and it gives me this. And we can define a frequency. So let's say it has a frequency of 5. And what ramps does, which I don't think oscillation has, is you get something called mirrored ramps. So you can do mirror and you can also offset it. Okay, so this is where it becomes interesting, which is if I just take the time value and plug this into offset, and if I press play, you'll get this. And let's say if you wanted to go faster or slower, I can do a multiply. So just take a multiply and we can, or actually let's do one. Let's take a multiply constant. So we'll take a multiply constant. And let's say if I make it 3, then it will go faster. Or if I make it like -3, it will go in the other direction. So this stuff is easy. We can also blur it out. So if let's say if I make it like 50, you can blur it. So we can do the same thing with oscillate as well. So oscillation, we can take this, where's oscillate? Yeah, and we can say frequency of 10. See, it kind of generates the same thing, but this is more like trigonometric. So you can do sine function or cosine. And then we can do the same thing. We have the offset, so we can plug that in over there and press play and you'll get this. And if I'm not wrong, this will also be generating data in negative. So I can take an absolute value because a sine function goes from like +1 to -1. Okay, so if I take an absolute, it'll take whatever is negative and make it positive. So if I drop this in the middle, see, this is what you'll get. Okay, so whatever data was there in the negative now comes in positive. And just to see this affect something, more that we can see is I can take a bind node and we'll do bind export and I'll set up PScale. Okay, so I can take PScale and connect this here and see, there you go. Now you can see what's happening is like the color here is different because these are going into negative. So they're actually like scaling, into -1. Okay, so if I press play, you'll get this. And if I plug in that absolute value, you will get, see, so now those are fine. So this isn't bad. Like we can do stuff like this. What we can also do is, let's say if we don't want to export to color and we just want to export like a custom, we can get rid of these, like if you don't want them. Let's say if I want to create like a custom value for color. So let's just call this color. Or hold on, let's go with the Indian spelling. So we'll do color. And I can export this out. And then what I can do is, I can come here, take a color node. And in here I can say ramp from attribute and pick up color. And we can set this to, let's do two-tone and I'll flip this. Let's just spread it out a little. There we go. See, so we'll get that. So you can do like interesting things with this. Like you can do a lot of stuff with this, but it's a good way to start off. Okay, so I can just take this and maybe, plug these in over here. See, so we'll get, nice things that you can do with this. You can also like distort UVs in here, if you want. So what I can do is I can take a noise map. So we will do, like, you have a lot of stuff in here, but for now I won't go into noise too much. I'll just take like a standard noise map, which is the turbulent noise. That's what I like using the most. And I'm going to plug in the position into it. For all of these, you will have to plug in, like, if you leave position empty, it's not going to work. So you have to either put in position in there or UVs in there for it to work. And I want to, like, add it to my UVs. So this has to, by default, it generates a float value. So if I just take this, and just to show you what will happen, if I plug this over here, see, and if I press play, you'll get that. So it's like instant. You can do something interesting with this. Let me offset this a little. Let's try original Perlin. Yeah, whatever, like, so you can do things like that. I can reduce this, see. Okay, so let's say if I plug this into my UVs, so what I can do is I can just change this to 3D noise and then do an add here, like before, like the UVs are going to add into this, and plug that in, and there you go. See, so now we are, like, if you make this amplitude 0, you'll see what is happening. So if you want to distort UVs, this is a nice way to do that. And we can just, like, pick which one we want. So yeah, so fun things that you can do with this. Let's do some really basic patterns so we can do something interesting. I won't use this for now. Let's get into that. This is fine. I'm just going to put something here. So we can take, if you come to patterns, you get a lot of them, but I'll just take, I'll go through 2. Now, there are some other things here which are different. Okay, so you have tiled boxes and you have tiled hexagons. These modify UVs. So the way it works is, it takes in existing UVs, turns those into like hexagonal UVs, and then you plug that into something else. So don't use these two. They're very different from like standard stuff. Everything else here, stripes, ramps, and oscillations are very similar to each other. You have soft dots, rounded stars, rounded hexes. They have similar parameters. They just create different stuff. So what we'll do is we'll use soft dots and we'll do rounded stars. That will give us something interesting. And then you can try the rest. These ones are new. This vibratus and flocus and fractus. These are, I think they've introduced the new cloud stuff. So these are noise patterns for that. But you can use them. Like, you can use them for anything that you want. And then the rest I don't care about. Okay, so I'll just take soft dots. And the way it works is it needs UV, so just plug it in from here. Like, we don't need to split it. We'll just plug this in. And then we can just, like, if you just want to see it, I can just plug this in here, and you'll get like, let me bypass the, the oscillations for now. So we just have nothing. It just generates a dot, and then we can take this. Let's say give it a frequency of 2 by 2. So you'll get like 2 of these. And we can also do like dot size. So you can control that. You can do randomization with the dots. So that is nice. And then the same thing, like if I add in like a noise value in here, like what we had done, I shouldn't have deleted that, but okay. Let's say if I take in turbulent noise again, and position and noise, and see, so we can do this, just lower the amplitude, and there you go. So you can actually, like, if you want to distort those circles to do something else, we can do stuff like this. So you can do like, mix and match and do like fancier stuff with this. Okay, so now if we plug this through the oscillation, we can get this. You can also like offset these if you want. You can randomize them a little bit, see, so you can sort of like adjust that. What we can also do is, let's say over here, I don't want it to go beyond the circle size. So what I'll do is I'll multiply it with the original dot. So like this is the animated stuff. This is just the basic size of it, right? Like it's just that much. So I'm going to take this and multiply it and then plug in that data in here. Yeah. So what will happen is, like, my data is now limited to just that. Okay. So we've taken the static dot and then multiplied it with our animated dot. So the area remains limited. So you can do stuff like this, which is nice. And then if I just replace this with, if let's say we come to patterns and we'll pick up rounded stars. So just, take the same thing, plug it into UV, and then, like just replace. So I'll take like this over here. Yeah, so it's just easier to branch out. So I can just do dot, and there you go. And we can, like right now it's not going to do much because it's a very hard star. So we can blur it, okay, which is nice. So I can just take this blur and let's make it like 150. Okay, so what you can also do with, like, this does interesting things. So you can also define, like, you have a roundness parameter. Let's bring this down temporarily to about 30. So just easier to see. So you have like a roundness. So it can, like, it becomes a circle and then it starts to become like a hexagon and then it turns into a star and eventually becomes like a flower. So, so you can do stuff like this. You can also do softness if you want. So this is actually nice, like you can generate actually like decent flower patterns with this if you want. And you can do the same, the rest is the same. So I'll do a, frequency of 2x2 and then we can define like random size if you want. And let's make this 150. Yeah. We'll just open this up a bit and then we can press play and you get this. So yeah, so you can do like, fancy enough things with this if you want. Okay, now let's say if you want to bring in an image and you want to modify that image, then what we can do is type in texture. So if you type in texture, you'll get a texture node and then you can load up an image in here. If you want to load it up at SOP level, or you want to control any of these parameters at SOP level, you can click on this little gear icon over here. So if I click on this gear icon, I can say promote parameter. And then you'll see that it generates like an output for it. And if you come up here into the attribute VOP, you'll be able to see like, so it's generated the frequency for you. So so now I can directly control that from here. I don't need to go up, like let's say if I make this like 200 by 200, see. So now we have, like this stuff being generated and I can probably lower this size to 0.03. Yeah. So you can control those. So whatever values you want to control at like geometry level, because then you can also do like, you want to do like parameter referencing and all of those things, you can do that. And if you want to remove that, you can double click on this. It'll show you the parameter that is generated and you can just delete that, so now you're back to standard. Okay, so let's take a look at the texture node. So this is the same thing. First we plug in the UV. Okay, so we deleted that. So if you want to bring it back, you can just type, if you want to bring it back, press tab, go to globals and you will get something called as geometry VOP output. Okay, so you can just take that. And if I just plug this in here to CD, and if we come up here and take a look at that. Oh, sorry, it went to force. Yeah, no wonder. Yeah, there you go. See, so we have our mandrel. So of course we don't want to do that. So let's remove this for now. Let's get rid of that. And what I want to do is, let's say I just want to convert this to like a luminance channel and then use that to control my color and PScale. So I can just type in luminance and put this in. And then if I replace like these two guys, and if I come back here, we will be able to see our monkey. And we can also adjust a few things here. So I can just, after the luminance, I can put in like a fit range. Okay, so let's take a fit range. And we can sort of just adjust the contrast. See, so we can, like adjust this. Or we can flip it as well. So if I want to do it like this, see, I can flip it. And if I take all of this and I plug it in through my oscillation, it will be more interesting. So if I just take this and plug that in over there and replace this little dot with everything that we have made. So if I plug that in and there you go, press play and you will get this. Okay, and as a final thing, because we were sort of making that, you can also use these things to displace geometry. So I'll have to bring this back. So we'll take global VOP output because we'll need the position. So all you have to do is type in displace. This should have been like a geometry level node, but we don't have that. okay, which is always irritating. But you just take this and plug it into amount and plug that into position, and there we go. If you press play, you will get this. Sorry, not from here. Wrong point to bring it in. Yeah, plug that in. No wonder it's not animating. Plug this in. There we go. So you get fancy monkey. Okay. And you can like replace that with anything. So if I like replace that with the stars, I'll get this. See, okay. Let's blur the star a bit more. Let's make it about 350. See, ooh, that looks fancy. That's too much, I think. So 250 should be good. 200 is good. Yeah, or we can do like the soft dot thingy. So you can do this. Or what we were doing initially with just the vector to float, and I can plug that in. So we'll just get that. So yeah, so you can like pick anything and like get different results out of it. But yeah, like the mantle looks nice. So we'll just do this. And you can replace this with any texture that you want. Like you can just come in here and load up whatever texture you want, or you can promote this parameter, so you'll get it at SOP level and then load up whatever you want. So you can just pick whatever image you like. And just as a final thing, like let's promote this, just for fun, I'll promote this and see do a final thing that should be interesting enough is how to use this with new cops. So what I can do is, let's say if I create a cop network, and I'll just generate like a very simple texture. So I'll do an SDF shape, and we'll make a shape. So I'll just take this and set it to, let's do this. And what I'll do is I'll just take this and I'll do SDF to mono, plug that in, and we can do smooth. So let's just smoothen this out. Let's also like blur it a bit. So I'll take a blur. Yeah, let's make it 1. Whoa, too much. Let's make it 0.1. Okay, I think that should be fine. Let's see if we can make some adjustments here. So, or let's try something else. I don't know, what, chevron? No. Clobber? Oh. Let's do cross. And let's also do one thing. Let's do SDF adjust in the middle. I want to make it thinner, so I'll just take the ISO offset and make it thinner. And then I can just take mono to RGB just for, like our purposes. And I will export this out. So I'll do a null. And I'll call it out texture. And what it should let me do is I can bring this in here. Okay, so if I just take this, I come into the attribute VOP and we have the mantle. And let's just, so what I do is I do OP colon slash OBJ slash geometry1 slash copnet1 slash out texture. And there you go. If you press play, we have that, So if I come in here, if I just lock this, and I can blur it a bit more. Let's try to 0.3. Yeah. And make it thinner still. No, 0.3 is too much. Yeah, okay. See. Anyway, so you can now you can come in here because this is a live connection. I can just, take it into anything, and oh, that is way too much, I think. I think I should invert this. Yeah, okay. There we go. So if I take SDF adjust and make it bigger. There you go. So now you can use stuff from CopNet and use it to affect your copy to points. Okay, so this is like a final tip. This is not basics, but okay. Hopefully somebody will learn something. All right, so next lesson I'll figure out what to do.